Week 3 was only the start of region play in high school football across the area, but we learned a whole lot already. So things might be a little bit different this year than the years past. We'll talk about it all. Look back a little bit at Week 3, head into Week 4. I'm Kyle Parmley, the Under the Lights podcast. Today, we are joined by William Galloway, Mountain Brook Communications Director. He doubles as the play-by-play man for the broadcast.
Yep.
So, William, thanks for joining us today. Welcome in.
Kyle, thanks for having me. I was on last year, really enjoyed talking with you, and obviously high school football is something that I love and gets to be a little bit of an extension of my job. So great to be with you and with all our Over the Mountain viewers on this podcast.
Yeah, so let's dive into all the games. But before that, I want to tell you about our presenting sponsor for the Under the Lights podcast this fall. That is KEYSYS. Look, we all know it. AI is starting to take over the world, and KEYSYS is able to help you and your business tailor solutions just for you. KEYSYS.io. They can help you take care of any AI solutions for your business or your personal needs. Check them out, KEYSYS.io. All right, William, you had a thriller last week. Mountain Brook, Hueytown. We said there's a lot of region games last week. This was one more non-region game, but
Correct.
Man, it did not lack in any drama.
Not at all. It was back and forth. And as I look around our wonderful facility here at Mountain Brook High School and see the track, this football game felt like a track meet. Back and forth and rotations and score swapping. And I mean, this game had it all. Offense, defense, special teams, a lot of turnovers, and a dramatic finish in overtime. As we are standing on the field, it was this far corner down here where Caden Hoffbauer rolled to his left, found Sam Smith in an overtime thriller. But as those guys talked about, and as we talked about and Coach Yeager talked about, it wasn't that one play that made it such an exciting game. It was a thrilling finish, but start to finish, Mountain Brook played really well in all areas of the ball, and it was just an exciting Friday night game to be a part of.
So question mark here for Brad Easley and Coach Yeager. Ball marked at the 8. It's a 3rd and goal from the 8. Questions are meant to be answered, Wayne. And
Just
the
to the field.
Spartans have an opportunity here on 3rd and goal in this overtime contest. Hoffbauer rolling to his left, fakes a give, throws to the end zone. Got it! Caught! Touchdown Spartans! Mountain Brook wins it in overtime. Complete. Mountain Brook takes down Hueytown in an overtime thriller.
And it is a Sam Smith send-off here for the Spartans.
Who do you go to when you need a big play? Call 1-800-SAM-SMITH. The senior wide receiver for the Spartans answers the bell. A dime from Caden Hoffbauer, and Mountain Brook is rolling in 2-1 and a big overtime victory over the Golden Gophers tonight.
Yeah, here at Spartan Stadium was the place to be last Friday night. But, when we talk about where the Spartans are right now, they're 2-1. They've had 3 tune-up games before they get into region play. What kind of progress have you seen from this team so far?
I've seen a lot, and Coach Yeager likes to talk about this team and that every game is you're stepping on the scale, right? It's like if you're on a weight loss journey and you step on a scale and you want to see your progress. And it's a one game at a time season, and especially in these non-region games that are important, and we've played, quality 6A teams, but it's really a test against yourself. Yeah. Who are we? What kind of identity do we want to establish? And so I've been impressed. Last year, we saw the passing game offensively grow throughout the year. Caden Hoffbauer did track in the offseason, got a lot faster. And so I think he's really improved all throughout, going back to the start of his junior year last year. So he has been an excellent player, and he's starting out the season with his passing ability picking up right where it left off. So Mountain Brook offensively has a very balanced, and we know we're a run-heavy team and a run-heavy program, but having that air attack as well has been really helpful. Defensively, we talk about turnovers, and Mountain Brook forced 17 last year, and they've already forced 3 or 4 in just 3 games, and so that's very exciting. You return 85-90% of your starters when you think about offense, defense, and special teams. And so you had a lot of senior leadership. And so these guys are starting to play, a grade up. Seniors are playing like they've been around for really 4 years. And at Mountain Brook, we know high school is only 10 through 12. The juniors are playing like seniors. We see some sophomores get some reps, and they're playing like juniors. And a lot of guys we've had a couple of injuries, a couple of guys get banged up, but people are stepping up. And so in non-region games, when people get that experience, it's really important because that'll play off and increase our depth throughout region play and the rest of the regular season.
Yeah, those will definitely pay off as you get going. And like we mentioned, Mountain Brook's starting region play this week. We'll dive into that game in a little while, but we do want to dive into the Week 4 slate. Let's start with Class 7A Region 3. Mountain Brook spent a lot of years in Region 3. They're back in 6A for now, but I got to start by talking about the game of the week. Hewitt Trustful paying a visit to Hoover. This is always a big game on the slate, but given what happened last week with Hewitt-Trussville beating Vestavia and Hoover falling to Hillcrest, this game's importance so early in the season just ramps up. I got to tell you, Hewitt-Trussville last week almost ran for 400 yards, a really, really impressive performance. And Hoover, on the other hand, when I looked down and they were down 22-0 to Hillcrest in the first quarter, I couldn't believe my eyes. Now, they rallied, they got back in the game, but ultimately Hillcrest was able to hang on.
I think when you look at teams across the state who examine this matchup, fans, people in Birmingham alike, they look at these two teams and they both know they're coming into this game really hungry. Hoover obviously trying to get back on the winning side of things. Hewitt riding, as you said, a great running game and a big emotional win over crosstown Vestavia. And so can they keep that trajectory going? Can they keep going into this game? And you talked about 7A Region 3. It is quite literally the region of doom, the region of death. And I feel like we need some type of John Rothsteinism to talk about what a bout and what a battle each game and each slate is on a week-by-week basis. But obviously trying to ride that win over Vestavia, and Hoover is really hungry coming into this game. Great selection for Game of the Week.
Yeah, I mean, Hoover's sitting at 1-2, and that doesn't even tell the whole story because they started the year playing IMG Academy out of Florida. Not many teams across the country are going to be able to knock off that team. But last week's loss was pretty surprising given what we saw from Hoover in the Spain Park game the week before. So I know a couple things I'll be watching these matchups. Hewitt-Trussville's offense, which we mentioned, ran for a ton of yards last week, but Hoover's defense has got playmakers on all three levels of the defense. And Hewitt-Trussville's quarterback situation, starting quarterback Zach Benedict gets hurt in game 2. And so we kind of wondered what we would see last week against Vestavia. And freshman Jack Floyd came in and performed admirably. His brother, senior Parker Floyd, they're both coach kids.
Right.
But they both played well. I mean, and Parker is such a key cog to that defense for Hewitt-Trussville that once Jack came in and started playing well, Coach Josh Floyd was like, we just got to keep Parker on defense, conserve some energy, and Jack Floyd really, really played well. Now he gets the challenge of that Hoover defense. We'll see what the freshman can do.
I'm excited about that game. It's going to be a great matchup. As I said, great selection for Game of the Week. Here at Mountain Brook, we all know we've got rivalries with everybody across over the mountain. Hoover's going to be Hoover. Yeah. Hewitt's going to be Hewitt. So I'm going to be excited to keep up with this one from afar. We'll be down in Pell City. We'll talk about that game in a little bit, but we'll definitely be following the score stream and checking out the action from that game.
Yeah, and a few more notes about this Hoover team. Their offense has been one that is, I've been interested to see how the progression. They got a lot of new faces, especially new quarterback Caleb Freeman. He's been taking steps each week, and he's going up against the stout Hewitt-Trussville defense that Deontay Seals and Woogie Crawford on that defensive line. Like that's an offense's nightmare, especially from what we've seen so far this year. So Hoover looking to get back up off the mat. I'll be out at the Hoover Met Friday night. Looking forward to it for the game of the week. And I want to tell you about our friends at South Lake Orthopedics, bringing you Hoover football coverage all season long. Their motto, less pain, more living. I think we can all sign up for that. Another game in Class 7A Region 3, Vestavia Hills, hosting that Hillcrest team that knocked off Hoover last week. Another interesting one because Vestavia, they got beat up a little bit in that Hewitt-Trussville loss last week, and now they get to host a Hillcrest team riding high. This Hillcrest team is no stranger to double-digit wins. And then last year they moved up to 7A, and they kind of got it. They had to adjust. I mean, 7A Region 3.
It's a different ball game, but
Sure
when you're as successful as they were in 6A for such a long time, and it's a new challenge, but certainly they're not an outlier, and they're not somebody that's not going to be competitive. And we saw that last week going into Hoover and taking down the Bucks.
Yeah, and so, you look at Hillcrest, wide receiver Caden Smith, he's kind of the go-to target, and then running back Jacoby Harris, he went over 100 yards last week. Vestavia Hills has got its hands full. But I will tell you, even though they lost last week to Hewitt, Vestavia's offense has been so good in the early going of the season. Quarterback Charlie Taft can do it with his arm and with his legs, and they just got such an efficient offensive attack. And that game was tied in the fourth quarter and just kind of got away from it at the end. But this Vestavia offense is playing really well.
And what we've seen from Vestavia over the first couple of weeks as well, and excluding the loss last week, you learn a lot from. You could even learn more from a loss than you could from a win. But getting 2 wins early on in the season against really good opponents, we know Vestavia is here to play, and this is a great opportunity for them to get back on the winning side of things. Jim Dunaway, one of my friends, is doing the play-by-play for them. So we've talked about how I'm here at Mountain Brook, he's doing Vestavia, and we talk about our love of the high school game, and I know he's doing a great job. Vestavia Rebel fans love having him call their games over there in the hills.
And then one final game that we'll be covering out of Region 3, Oak Mountain hosting Thompson. We all know that Thompson is just the behemoth. They're the team that everybody is kind of looking up at. Oak Mountain lost this matchup 42-7 last week. or last year. So they're trying to get, a little bit more competitive in this matchup. And that's what head coach Shane McComb has been gearing for all offseason, preseason. He wants his team to be more competitive in each matchup. And they've done that for the most part so far. Last week's disappointing loss to Prattville, 27-6. They kind of didn't play up to their standard, but they hope to compete a lot better against Thompson this week.
We think about teams like Thompson and really good programs across the state who have had a lot of success and won championship after championship. But I think about, and my dad would be proud for me to reference this, but Virginia versus Chaminade in the 80s. You got to show up, you got to play the game, right? Thompson can't just walk in there and walk over them with their fourth string. Oak Mountain is growing and they're learning, they're getting better each week. And so this is a great opportunity for the Oak Mountain to propel their program forward and test themselves against a really quality opponent.
Well, we're at Spartan Stadium right now, but fans aren't going to be able to see Mountain Brook play on this field for a while. They've got a 3-game road trip starting this Friday night at Pell City, the first region contest of the year. What do you think?
We talked about stepping on the scale, and this one really, the number that you see matters, right? For Mountain Brook, it's you put that asterisk next to those region games, and obviously Mountain Brook was able to take care of Pell City last year on this turf, but each year is new, each team is new, and for Mountain Brook, the ultimate test is going to be itself. Mountain Brook has had a lot of success early on in the season. They've learned a lot of things about themselves, but injury-wise, if Mountain Brook is able to be healthy and do what they do on all aspects of the ball, we're going to have a great opportunity. Let's start with special teams and kind of just dive into Mountain Brook a little bit because we have the opportunity to talk about them today. William Russ handling the kickoff duties. He's almost kicked the ball from here to the Piggly Wiggly down on River Run every single time. His touchback ability. Anderson Roberts has a tremendous leg. We saw him go 2 for 3 on field goals last week. Patrick Cry, the long snapper, does a great job. And offensively, we talked about Caden Hoffbauer, but the workhorse and the former I believe the award is correctly named here, Stuart Andrews. He was the All-South Metro Player of the Year. Is that right? Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And Stuart's getting 20, 30 carries a game in his second season as the starting running back for the Spartans. So Mountain Brook's going to be running that wide zone. Stuart left, Stuart right, we jokingly like to call it, in the press box. And then obviously the talented wide receivers. We talked about Sam, who caught that game-winning touchdown. He had 6 receptions, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns last week. But you think about guys like, hopefully we can get Archie Andrews back. And you think about guys like John Colvin, Trey Vincent, and just the stellar offense that Mountain Brook has, the weapons all over. And then you think about guys like Wallace Hunter and Bennett Jordan. I mean, the whole offensive line that has just gelled together. And you got to see them last week, adding a new piece in, figuring it out as the game went on. We talk about defense for Mountain Brook. And obviously, we want to talk about this Pell City game specifically, but as we just named guys back and forth, Boyd Cooper had a tremendous game last week, 9 tackles, a pass breakup, and a sack. Skip Stewerman stepped up, one of the junior linebackers. Miller Crumpton is always where he needs to be defensively aligned for the Spartans. And you got guys like Mac Mandel in the secondary. You got Hosford Roberts. You're hoping you can get Hayes Wendell back here soon. LG Williams, Lawson McKnight. And I know I'm leaving a couple guys off, but I mean, really, as this Mountain Brook team progresses and gels, this is a great opportunity for them to go show what they've been working on. And we'll see it here in a little bit when they come out for practice.
Yeah, and speaking of another region opponent, I don't know if you've seen what Clay Chalkville's done to teams at the start of this season, but they are going to Shades Valley looking to go to 4-0. I know you guys will see the Cougars at some point this year.
That'll be the next time we're here on this turf.
And it'll be a good one because that Clay Chalkville team, the first 3 games, they have looked virtually unstoppable.
Absolutely. And they beat a really good Hueytown team who pushed Mountain Brook all the way to overtime this past Friday. And if you look at the tape of Hueytown versus Clay Chalkville and you think, Clay Chalkville kind of took care of them. But, I mean, Hueytown came in here and their defensive line was pushing us around for, 48-plus minutes. And so Clay Chalkville is going to have every opportunity to continue that dominance in this game. And we can't get too far ahead of ourselves as Mountain Brook because we've got 3 other games before them. But certainly excited to see them come in a few weeks. And we know they're going to keep progressing and getting better.
Yeah, and speaking of our Mountain Brook football coverage here at Under the Lights and Village Living, Gun Dermatology has been a partner with us for a long time. They've got 2 locations in Mountain Brook. They'll take care of all your skincare needs. That's Gun Dermatology. All right, William, let's talk about the Homewood Patriots. They are headed to Woodlawn on Friday night for a Region 5 game. Homewood is rolling right now. They played Mortimer Jordan last week, won 49-7. Caleb Carson threw 4 touchdowns in the first half. They had over 350 total yards in the first half. The running game got going, too. I mean, they just had all sorts of guys taking handoffs, scoring touchdowns. So the Patriots, they're hot too.
And Caleb Carson's the guy who's going to have his name and number called all season long. He's one of the stars for that Homewood Patriot team. And I keep comparing things to Mountain Brook because I see it through this green shirt and these gold-colored lenses, but we're going to see him in a couple weeks at their place. I'm super excited about that game, and we know he's just a very talented quarterback who's been behind and learned from the great Will Myers over in Homewood for the past couple years, and he's already shining early in this season. It's only September.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see, we talk all off season. We talk all summer about what we think these teams are going to do, and we just kind of, it's just something to talk about, but ultimately we're guessing at the end of the day. But it is cool when you go see a coach in the summer, like we saw Homewood head coach Ben Bergeson, and you sit down, and he's always one of these guys who's going to shoot you straight, tell you what he thinks. And he had a really good feeling that this team would be able to start strong, and they sure have. They have been dominant in their first 3 games, and if they continue that, they're going to be a team that is really sneaking up those Class 6A rankings as we get going.
Absolutely. And certainly a lot of the teams from over the mountain, whether they're 5A, 6A, 7A, a lot of them are teams that carry a long playoff run, and certainly teams you don't necessarily want to see in the playoffs, but you think about like a Mountain Brook Homewood non-region game in a couple of weeks. It'll be a great amidst all the region games, it'll be a great non-region tune-up, and this Homewood team's only getting better and stronger.
Yeah, and if you haven't gone to check out the Edge over in Homewood, you should definitely do that, because that's who is bringing you our Homewood football coverage all season long. It's a vibrant space for food, fun, and community in Homewood, suitable for the whole family. They've got all kinds of stuff, live events each week. It's an outdoor food hall. It's right off Green Springs. You visit their website at theedgehomewood.com. All right, John Carroll, this is a team that have had the opposite fortune so far. They've had 3 tough games to start the year, but I got a feeling this is going to be a great opportunity for them as the Cavs go to Hayden on Friday night to take on a Hayden team that's in their region. It's a good opportunity for a region win. Hayden also 0-3, but John Carroll, man, they have really they punched up these first few games. They played Homewood, which we just talked about.
Right.
They played a St. Michael team who's coached by Phillip Rivers, and he's got that offense on fire so far. So just some really tough competition for John Carroll. You hope that starts to pay off as they get into the meat of their schedule.
You really do, and that's what those big games are what prepare you for these region games. And I love to think about John Carroll. I think about as we stand on this turf, they're the only, I think, high school field in America. My buddy told me this, with the Heisman Trophy on it, thanks to Pat Sullivan. Yep. But the opportunity for them taking what they've done from these past couple games, trying to reestablish that identity and hit the reset button, as you said, and going forward. Wayne and I on our Mountain Brook football broadcast call them get right games. So I would say this is definitely a get right game for John Carroll.
Yeah, excited to see what the Cavs can do on Friday as well. And I want to tell you about Barlow Wealth Advisory Group, because they're partnering with us on our John Carroll football coverage this fall. Barlow Wealth Advisory Group offers a range of services, a diverse set of options, and exclusive access to solutions that may not be available through other firms. Barlow-WAG.com to check them out. All right, a couple more games, William, that we will dive into. Back into the Class 6A, Spain Park Jags hosting Helena this week. Spain Park got an early open date, and so I wonder how much of that was spent, kind of recovering from that Hoover game, because that was a physical contest for them. But also you wonder if the coaching staff kind of got in the lab a little bit and tried to figure out a little bit more of what this Spain Park team is going to look like as they kind of get going.
Not just a physical game, but an emotional game, especially when crosstown rivals play each other. An opportunity to, as we said about John Carroll, is to hit that reset button. And I call this game the Battle of the Blue, right? I'm not John Rothstein coming up with Rothsteinisms, but this is the Battle of the Blue, and Helena is a great 6A program as well. So I'm excited to see how this one shapes up.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch, because Spain Park was so electric last year. They could score in bunches. They could score with anybody. But the offense has kind of had to retool around senior quarterback Brock Bradley. And you've started to see a little bit. He's trying to figure out his targets. Ken Arrigo on the outside with him. They've got good chemistry. They're trying to figure out the backfield. Nick McKissick's had a couple of good games for the Jags so far. So Spain Park's still trying to figure things out on offense. That defense is solid. Holding Hoover to 21 points is nothing to sneeze at
Absolutely.
either. So I'm looking for Spain Park that, as they're kind of getting into their 6A schedule now, they played some 7A foes already. Interested to see what they can bring to the table as well. And then finally, a team I got to see get their first win last week, Briarwood taking on Carver at Lions Pride Stadium. That'll be a fun one, another region game. This Briarwood team, if you remember last year, started 0-5, and by that point it was a little too late to make a playoff push. And this year was starting to get that deja vu feeling after they start 0-2. And then out at Legion Field last Thursday night, they played Ramsey, a really tough opponent to start your region slate. They come away with a 14-13 win. It had all you need, like a new star potentially on offense. It had special teams play. It had a dominant defense. All kinds of things to love from this Briarwood team. and you got to watch out for this guy. Sophomore quarterback Jamison Barnes. He kind of entered the season as the second string guy, and now they're kind of going tandem with Charles Dedman and Jamison Barnes. But Jamison, he's a bulldozer with the football in his hands, really running the football. So if Briarwood could kind of build off of what they had last week, this is a team that might be pretty dangerous in 5A.
Well, we saw Briarwood in the spring game. They came here to Mountain Brook, and we had the opportunity to kind of pit ourselves against them. And I wouldn't necessarily say it was a traditional game. I think we turned the scoreboard off at halftime, not because of what was happening on the field, but we had 5 kickoffs in a row, and that's the epitome of a new era spring game these days in high school football. But they were a quality team, and I was doing the PA announcing, called a lot of names for Briarwood, got familiar with that team, and then to go last week on the road, and you talk about Ramsey, right? You're not just on the road. You're in the Old Gray Lady. You're not in the shadow of the Old Gray Lady like you are at Parker High School. You were playing in the Old Gray Lady. And I think to get a win in a daunting atmosphere like that against a really, really good Ramsey team who pushed Parker as well is a really quality win for Briarwood to kind of propel them forward into this September slate.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and tell you that Ramsey team, that's the best 0-3 team you will ever see, I'm afraid. So Ramsey will get rolling here soon as they kind of get into region play, but it was a great win for Briarwood last week, and I'm anxious to see if they can kind of get that snowball rolling in the right direction, unlike last year. One other team, Chelsea is the other team. They've got an open date this week. They'll lick their wounds from their first loss last week, falling to Pelham 19-7, and they'll get back on the horse next week. But the Under the Lights podcast presented by KEYSYS. William, thanks for joining me today, man.
Absolutely.
I know we love college football. We love the NFL on Saturdays and Sundays, but we get our weekend started on Friday night.
We do. I did tell everybody. I was texting some Mountain Brook parents after the emotional win, and I said, I don't think there's anything you can do for me this weekend that would excite me more than what happened on Friday night, the excitement of the Friday night lights. And Kyle, I want to give you a shout out, just everything that you do for high school football, for high school athletics here in the greater Birmingham area and across the state. Under the Lights is just tremendous, and what Kyle does is not replicated in every community. And it's an honor to be on your podcast. Thank you for letting me share some about our players, about our program here in Mountain Brook, and we want everybody to subscribe to Under the Lights and keep feeding and supporting all the wonderful content and sponsors who bring you this product each week, because you do a great job.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, William. And if you're not getting the Saturday morning email newsletter like William is a good subscriber of, you gotta check it out. We will put a link on the screen to subscribe to that and follow all things Under the Lights. We got X, we got Facebook, all the things, and on our website. At your community's websites that you've always found those teams' coverage. I'm Kyle Parmley, William Galloway, joining us today on the Under the Lights podcast presented by KEYSYS.